We're watching a special edition of the Cultural Connections podcast, The Capitol Under Siege. Coming up, we will have late breaking news on the Capitol Siege. This is the Cultural Connections podcast, special edition.
And good evening, folks. My name is Brian Ives, and I am the producer and host of the Cultural Connections podcast. And you are watching a special edition of the Cultural Connections podcast, The Capitol Under Siege. We are coming on here live because we felt like it was worth our while to bring you up-to-date information on what is going on. We are not typically news-based, but because of the fact that we have been discussing a lot of politics stuff recently, we do believe with the ongoing events, we do believe it's important that we bring you up to date on exactly what's happening. As a reminder to all of our viewers, we are currently coming to you live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. If you would like to comment on our live video or join our discussion, please head over to Instagram, as I am only at this time able to see our Instagram live feed. Our other feed is coming through to you live via Zoom, so unfortunately I am unable to see your comments live at this time unless, again, you are on Instagram. So what I want to do is I want to get into the headlines of what we know, and I'm going to then get into more of a discussion based after this for a little bit. And I want to hear your thoughts and so if you're watching live with me, please comment below on Instagram if you are able to. And I'm going to jump right now into our graphics of what we have of, again, what it is that we know. So bear with me for just a minute, and I'm going to pull up my graphics. You're seeing it already in a way if you are on Instagram, but not if you're on our Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Here we go. So again, here we go. So our headline so far of what we know is that there are 5 in the Capitol Hill siege that took place on Wednesday. 5 people are pronounced dead so far, including a Capitol Hill police officer, Brian D. Sicknick, who is one of those 5 people dead. So far, 82 people have been arrested, and we also are now learning that President Trump's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube accounts have been suspended indefinitely. We'll get more in depth into that in just a minute. And we're also learning that the House is expected to introduce an article of impeachment on Monday. And again, we'll get into that as well in just a few minutes. Now, one of those arrested is Richard Barnett, 60 years old, from Gravette, Arkansas. And you can see he is this guy seen in the picture to the right here on your screen. This is a picture that went viral of Mr. Barnett sitting at Nancy Pelosi's desk with his feet up there. Just outright disgusting and un-American. He has been arrested in Arkansas for trespassing and a bunch of other charges that we're not going to get into. But again, he has been arrested. Now, I want to show you this as well, because this is the FBI that is seeking information on anyone seen in these pictures. As you can see, these are all people that breached the Capitol building, that were not allowed into the Capitol building and still breached the Capitol building. So if you know anyone that you see in these pictures, please reach out to the FBI, obviously. Again, you can see there's a bunch of pictures here, and there's obviously going to be more information available on the FBI's website. And it's a sad fact that we have to really show this and talk about this. Now, to talk about the House impeachment that is expected to take place, there again, is supposed to be introduced on Monday. And this is the article of part of what the article of impeachment that they are introducing on Monday states the following: Donald John Trump engaged in high crimes and misdemeanors by willfully inciting violence against the government of the United States. There is more to this this one article of impeachment that they'll be introducing. It's unknown on how it'll progress through the Senate, but it will likely pass the House. Now, again, we have learned with this, that we do know that one Republican senator has come out, and that's Senator Murkowski of Alaska, has come out to say that she wants Trump to resign immediately, and that she is demanding that he resign immediately. What he did on Wednesday is unacceptable by inciting violence, and it is unacceptable. We also want to get into the fact that we do know that so far, in terms of resignations in Trump's cabinet, we are aware that Education Secretary Betsy DeVos has resigned, along with Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao, who is also the wife of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. So we do know about those two resignations. We're also learning there is the possibility of White House counsel Pat McCone, who is also talking about resigning and could possibly give his resignation within the next 48 hours. Again, that's early information that we are learning at this time. We are also learning, we also know that First Lady Melania Trump's Chief of Staff, Stephanie Grisham, has also resigned. Stephanie Grisham was also a former press secretary for the Trump administration for Trump. So that is something we also are aware. We're also learning that there is also the reporting that very close aide Hope Hicks is also considering resigning again. Unknown information at this time if that is true, but again, sources indicate that she is considering resigning too. We still have learned as well that Vice President Pence has not talked to President Trump since Wednesday, since this all unfolded. And we're also just learning about a pickup truck that was packed with bombs and firearms was found parked near the Capitol building on Wednesday. And I mean, that this is just coming in as I'm talking to you live. Um, it is simply put really disgraceful that this is what is going on, and that this is what we have to talk about. We've been also seeing reports out there that these extremist groups plan to are not stopping ground. That they definitely plan to. They are planning to be at the President-elect Biden's inauguration on January 20th. We have also learned today that President Trump has said he will not be attending President-elect Biden's inauguration on January 20th, and it's reported that he is planning to leave on January 19th, the day before the inauguration, for his resort in Florida, Mar-a-Lago, known as the Winter White House. So that is other breaking information that we do know. The other thing I want to show you, I'm going to try to potentially pull this up if possible, and I want to make sure our live video is actually coming through here. So bear with me. Let me switch back to me here on Instagram. I want to make sure our live is coming through here. Okay, we are live on Facebook. Very good. Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure on. So we are live on all of our platforms. That's what is mattered to me. And I know the graphic there says Georgia Senate runoff election update. I apologize. That is actually incorrect. If you're on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, it should actually say Capitol Hill siege. So that's what we're talking about here. Since we are obviously past the Georgia Senate runoff race. I'm going to try to bring up here, if I can find it, the unfortunately, I don't have it. The arrests so far that have been made and the crimes that they are going for. We're also being told, as I'm on here, being told that President Trump is not out of the woods with this yet. That the FBI is also investigating President Trump's actions, with his involvement with Wednesday. I do want to show you what Twitter said about Donald Trump's account, and that is something I want to get into as to why they took down Trump's Twitter account. Hold on just a minute, and I'll have that for you. My computer wants to... Oh, I found what I was looking for. Okay. So I want to read this is I'm going to show you this here on your screen in just a moment because this is the reasoning behind as to why Twitter banned Trump from their platform. And I'm going to read this to you now, and I'm going to show it to you also if you're on Instagram as well. And I'm going to read this to you. So, after permanent suspension of @real Donald Trump, after close review of recent tweets from @real Donald Trump accounts and the context around them, specifically how they are being received and interpreted on and off Twitter, we have permanently suspended the account due to the risk of further incitement of violence. In the context of horrific events this week, we made it clear on Wednesday that additional violations of the Twitter rules would potentially result in the very course of action. Our public interest framework exists to enable the public to hear from elected officials and world leaders directly. It is built on a principle that the people have a right to hold power to account in the open. However, we made it clear going back years that these accounts are not above our rules entirely and cannot use Twitter to incite violence, among other things. We will continue to be transparent around our policies and their enforcement. The below is a comprehensive analysis of our policy enforcement approach in this case. On January 8th, 2021, President Donald J. Trump tweeted, "The 75 million great American patriots who voted for me, America first, and make America great again, will have a giant voice long into the future. They will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form." Shortly thereafter, the president tweeted the following: "To all of those who asked, I will not be going to the inauguration on January 20th. Due to the ongoing tensions in the United States and an uptick in the global conversation in regards to the people who violently stormed the Capitol on January 6th, 2021, these two tweets must be read in the context of broader events in the country and the ways in which the president's statements can be mobilized by different audiences, including to incite violence, as well as the context of the pattern of behavior from this account in recent weeks. After assessing the language in these tweets against our glorification of violence policy, we have determined that these tweets are in violation of the glorification of violence policy, and the user real Donald Trump should be immediately permanently suspended from the service. Assessment: we assess the two tweets referenced above under our glorification of violence policy, which aims to prevent the glorification of violence that could inspire others to replicate violent acts, and determined that they were highly likely to encourage and inspire people to replicate the criminal acts that took place at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, 2021. The determination is based on a number of factors, including the following: President Trump's statement that he will not be attending the inauguration is being removed by a number of his supporters as a further confirmation that the election was not legitimate, and that is as seen as him disavowing the previous claim made via two tweets, one and two, by his deputy chief of staff Dan Scavino, that there would be an orderly transition on January 20th. The second tweet may also serve as encouragement to those potentially considering violent acts that the inauguration would be a safe target, as he will not be attending. The use of the words American patriots to describe some of his supporters is also being interpreted as support for those committing violent acts at the U.S. Capitol. The mention of his supporters having a giant voice long into the future, and that they will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form, is being interpreted as further indication that President Trump does not plan to facilitate an orderly transition, and instead he plans to continue to support, empower, and shield those who believe he won the election. Plans for future armed protests have already begun profiling on and off Twitter, including a proposed secondary attack on the U.S. Capitol buildings on January 17th, 2021. As such, our determination is that these two tweets above are likely to inspire others to replicate the violent acts that took place on January 6, 2021, and that there are multiple indicators that they are being received and understood as encouragement to do so. So again, that is why President Trump's Twitter account has been indefinitely suspended, permanently suspended. That's what Twitter is saying on their account. Again, I mean, all of this information continues to break at this time. And again, there's a lot that continues to break. As I mentioned with the House impeachment inquiry, we are expecting to see that introduced in the House chamber on Monday at some time Monday. We don't have an exact time, but of course, we'll bring you information live on when we do know that. We'll continue to stay with you throughout the weekend on this. If you like this coverage, please let us know. We decided to bring this to you because we believe it's important. This is not our normal content on cultural connections. And keep in mind, we are going to actually have more interviews coming up in the coming weeks. We hope you had a chance to see our last episode of the Cultural Connections podcast, where we interviewed Chris Fussner, the CEO and founder of Trans Technology out of Singapore. He has an amazing story, and it's worthwhile to go check it out. It's available right now on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And within the next few days, will be available on Instagram and all of our listening platforms, as that is an actual episode of our podcast. So keep it tuned to Cultural Connections. We are going to continue to monitor everything that continues on this, with the developments on all of this here at Capitol Hill. Again, this is a really unsettling, obviously, situation, and we hate to have to report on this, but we feel that it's important to report on this. So comment below your thoughts. We want to hear your thoughts. Whatever platform you're watching on, comment below. We will continue to monitor all of the developments on this, and assuming there are more developments throughout the weekend, we will bring it to you live. We will have more information over the weekend for you as well. For now, this has been a special edition of the Cultural Connections podcast. My name is Brian Ives, and I am the producer and the host of the Cultural Connections podcast. Stay with Cultural Connections for further information on this developing story.
You've been watching a special edition of the Cultural Connections podcast, The Capitol Under Siege. Stay with Cultural Connections for the latest information on this breaking story. This is the Cultural Connections podcast.